Welcome to the Left of Str8 show, where we talk entertainment, music, books, foodies, and more each week with special guest interviews of interest to the LGBTQ community and our straight allies. Direct from the entertainment capital of Northeast Ohio. Your host, Scott Fullerton, chats with some of your favorite entertainers, celebrities, newsmakers, and behind-the-scenes people across the country and around the world who make it all happen. So sit back, grab your favorite beverage, and let's start talking.
Ladies and gentlemen, and fabulous folks from all walks of life, welcome back to another great interview here on the Left of Str8 show. I'm your host, as always, Scott Fullerton, and over the past 8 years, I've had the privilege to dive deep into the worlds of countless artists, activists, and all around just amazing individuals, and today is no exception. We have the vibrant, captivating, and absolutely fabulous drag artist who has shared her transformation journey from the Bible Belt to the bustling stages of New York City. The incomparable Jessica Lahore is here. Jessica, the first came about in Fort Collins, Colorado at Colorado State University drag show. From there, she couldn't be stopped, performing from once a semester in college to now full-time, usually at least 6 nights a week, it seems. Jessica's continued to thrive and level up time and time again. She's been recognized as being an example of hustling to make your dreams, goals, and aspirations come true, from being Best New Queen on the Scene to Colorado's Drag Entertainer of the Year. Jessica's built a strong empire and prides herself on elevating the Colorado drag scene, and I'm so happy to get to know her for the very first time in the Left of Str8 show. Please welcome Miss Jessica Lahore. Jessica, how we doing?
Hi, I'm doing so good. What an introduction. Oh my goodness, I forgot about some of those things. Thank you.
Well, I am excited to have you on. It's so great to have you and all dolled up for us and everything. I think you're only maybe the first, if not only the second person to ever come on and drag.
Yeah.
It's Hustle Egos. I'm excited.
Perfect. I love it.
Well, welcome to you. Left of Str8 show, we always have first 2 questions that goes out to everybody. Tell us where you grew up, what kind of a kid were you, and what got you into the entertainment business?
Yeah, so I grew up, technically, I say Chicago because nobody really knows the suburbs, but I lived in a small town called Huntley, and I was born in Elgin in Illinois. Tiny cornfields, houses in the middle of cornfields, takes 30 minutes to get to a grocery store, it's 15 minutes to school, everybody went to the same school. It was just a small town. And so I grew up there for quite a while, up until about 7th grade, and then I moved to Colorado, 8th grade, stayed in Colorado through college, and I've been here since. The type of kid that I was definitely not what you would think. I guess the same qualities carried over, very kooky, very weird, very energetic, always a people person. Even as a kid, was an introverted extrovert. I love my alone time, but I love being around people and dancing and being the life of the party. And as a kid, I was always like a little entrepreneur, trying to find ways to sell things and go into business with around my neighborhood or even at school. So that's kind of carried over. But I really didn't dive into the entertainment world officially until high school. Stayed in theater, stayed in opera through college and performing arts, whether that be choir or band, theater things, and then I decided to try drag out after a while, and it kind of fit in all the different things that I wanted to accomplish, doing live performances, having my own business, and educating people or talking to people. So it was really cool. That's like the Spark Notes version.
I love that. Fantastic. Well, thank you for filling us in on that. I mean, your alter ego, Zachary Sullivan. Zachary identifies as trans, non-binary, gender fluid, queer human. I love that. Love showcasing their own work. And talk about, when did you first come out to yourself? Who was the first person you told? And when do you think you first kind of found your tribe?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I first came out to myself, or I had an inkling. So I went from being straight to straight with revenge. It was not a good time in my life. I wanted to get back on gay men because they hurt me, but I was still straight, but I was going to break their heart. And so that's how I went. Then I was bisexual. Then I decided I was going to be a gay man. And then I decided to be gender fluid. And then I decided to be non-binary. And now I decided to be a trans non-binary human, which means I wake up and whatever the day brings me, I'm still the same person. I can change, ebb and flow. And so that's kind of like my identity journey, a little bit of like how I came to be with that.
That's amazing, though, that we're able to do that and kind of learn to be ourselves, right? Because we all change constantly, and sometimes you feel one way one day and the next the other, right? So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I love we don't
I
put
want
a
to live
label
happy.
on.
That's it, period.
And when did you kind of first start finding your tribes out there? Was it college when you started doing drag, or when did you kind of find like-minded people that you were able to hang out with and kind of who got you?
Yeah, I think that was honestly just right before COVID, and then COVID really kicked it into gear about where my people actually stayed, or like where my tribe was. The people that not only were my chosen family, but people that were actually my family members, who was going to be willing to stick around, who wanted to put in as much work as I did. And so I found my group of people a little bit before COVID, and truly because COVID pushed that agenda on everybody to figure out who you're going to talk to and build those
Right.
relationships with. So I'd say probably in the last 3 years have truly found my people, but it took a
Oh,
long time.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I love hearing that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're known as a philanthropist, an MC, producer, drag artist, entertainer. You kind of do it all in Colorado there.
Yeah.
Tell me where it came from drag queen in college to a full-time gig. I mean, you're working hard. I look at your schedule just for the rest of the month. I think you have 14 gigs in 12 days coming up or something.
Yeah. It really slowly progressed. I always had the idea in the back of my mind when I started drag that I wanted to do it full time, but it wasn't feasible. I knew nothing about how to do that. I went to college for business, and I would say some things carried over, but a lot of the things didn't retain from my business degree. But I guess some of the social aspects did carry over. So a lot of it was building the brand of what I wanted Jessica to be, working on her as a whole. But I was working two other jobs at the time. I got fired from one. After I graduated, I lost the other one, and I took that as a sign that I needed to do this full time. So I just jumped into it. I decided to start traveling and start, putting my name in every hat that I could. Started producing my own events because at the time, if people didn't want to book you or put you in a show, you had to create your own opportunity. So started producing events, hosting events. And that even transitioned where I was just producing most of the time. Then I was performing most of the time. Right now, it's such a balance of work in the gay bars and the queer scene, and work within corporations, private events, parties. I get to do consulting, so entertainment consulting. I get to do inclusivity consulting. I get to do MCs, photos, modeling. So it's kind of expanded that it's not just me lip syncing anymore and performing. It's like, what does my entertainment business offer, and how can I best fit the needs for what you need? And granted, I'm not a gold star at everything, but the things that I feel confident in I will put out there. And if I don't know how to do it, I will damn well figure it out. That's for sure.
There you go. That's a great way to put it too. And we're going to plug your website at the end, but I mean, just looking at the things it can book you for, you do jack of all trades there, which I really like a lot. And I wanted to talk about your business degree because I saw you got one in college.
Yeah.
Drag really is a business when you get into it full time. When do you kind of make that leap? Because none of us really want to do the business part of it, especially as an entertainer, right? How do you kind of find the time to juggle that balance between being a business person and being a performer?
I did it for of the 10 years that I've been doing drag, 7 I've done full time as a business. The first 6 months of me deciding to do full time drag were probably the worst months of my life. Leading into the next year and a half being the most depressing, most like starving artist, figure it out. And it's because I didn't know anything. It became easier and easier to run things as a business once I learned how to balance both personal life and professional life. finding my own systems, sticking to them. What are my morals as a business? And I can't go back. I have to stick with what I believe and what I want my company to be. It's, my small business to be, how I want it to interact with people. And you learn and you grow from mistakes, and you learn that balance a little bit easier. And once you're taking care of yourself outside of entertainment, it makes business easier. And then it just kind of meshes together. Some days are awful, like any other person. Some days are great. But if you can find a way to function, I think that it just takes time. It's time, it's practice, it's dedication. Somebody doing it 1 year versus 10 years is going to have a lot of different experiences, but hopefully that person can help them get there sooner than it took me to get there.
Well said. And how do you balance Zachary into it? I mean, a drag queen's life is primarily at night. There's some drag brunches and some day events, but what is it? Just is Zachary your time to be you and be on your own, or do you kind of have to find another life for that? Because I see you're a model, you're with an agency for that. How do you kind of fit that in there as well?
You know, in terms of creating my own identity for Zach, I really lost who that person was. And I didn't really realize how much I lost Zach in the process of drag and Jessica being the face of everything. And I know I keep referring to COVID, but there were a lot of really sad moments during COVID where I had some really close friends, one in particular that lost their life during COVID. And going to their funeral, going to their memorial with everything going on, it was a really big game changer for how I wanted to show up in the world. And I hate that was the trigger for me to have this realization. But this person that passed away, Skylar, was one of the most vibrant people in every space. They were not afraid to take up space. They were not afraid to sit at a table with everybody. And allow new people to come into their circle. They were colorfully dressed all the time. They were kind to everybody. And I realized that I wasn't any of the things that I see in Skylar. I didn't feel any of those things. So I started taking care of myself, started doing things for me, whether that was, getting a haircut regularly or getting health insurance or, putting silicone in my lips, whatever something made me feel better. I started spending more time focusing on Zach, focusing on things that made me happy, saying no to working, which is really hard when you're a yes person, taking time off to spend with loved ones, boyfriend, family members, and really putting in the work that I put into Jessica, put it into Zach, because she can't exist if I'm not existing healthily.
Right.
And so that progressed, and it became a more normal, natural thing for somebody that doesn't like to do kind things for themselves all the time or spoil themselves. In the last 2 years, I really focused on making myself feel special.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. It's so important, and a lot of us, me included, learn it way too late in life. So, very good on you for that.
Yeah.
And one of the things I love about you is, I mean, we have all the controversy really flaring up the last couple of years about drag in Tennessee and Florida, but you were pretty much an early adopter. I mean, back in 2018, you created Miss Jessica, right? You were doing kid story hours and stuff. You were ahead of the curve. I love that. Talk about how you felt the need to create that separate persona and how you were able to like gain by doing that.
Yeah, I've done all ages events for a very long time before 2018. And I decided to go to this, it was a literacy day. It was people with careers go in, read a book, and they talk about how reading and literacy and education is important to do what you do in your career. So I talked about how going to college helped me become a drag queen. They asked a bunch of questions. My book was on bullying and how you should treat people with kindness. And two parents that did not even have kids at that school, they were just part of the district, complained, and it went international heat. It went all over the fucking world. Rush Limbaugh talked shit about me in a little 3-minute podcast. It just went everywhere. It was something wild that I didn't expect to happen. But it was also a big realization to take this moment and turn it into Miss Jessica. I had the chance to be on Daily Blast Live and actually talk about what it means to have representation in a classroom versus how is my career any different than anyone else's career or the career of an actor. And Miss Jessica was born from there, and people started latching on to it. The way that I talk to kids is very realistic in terms of when we do Q&As, and I love reading books to littler kids, but when you have that age group where they're actually curious, about life and they have questions, or if they're in high school or if they're even in college. I've done drag story times for college adult ones. People are curious about what this life is like, and whether that is for whatever interest, the representation matters. So she's blossomed and goes into different spaces to see the kids and be that representation piece.
That's great. Trailblazer once again. I like that a lot. And speaking of trailblazing, I mean, I want to take a little break because you do some amazing work on video. You have two shows. You have your Jess Talks, which is fantastic. I'm going to play a little clip of that now. I was watching a few of the videos. I like the ones you talked about friendship, and you got to see some old friends from back in the neighborhood, and just really, you and I are the same way. We kind of have the same kind of, it's really tough to keep friendships, and it's a little something. So let's take a quick break. All right, we're here on the Left is Straight Show. We're talking to Jessica Lahore right here on the Left is Straight Show. We'll be back in just a couple of seconds.
Attention Lahore, attention Lahore, attention Lahore, attention. Here I am walking down the street, seeing all the boys trying to take a peek. Shorts pulled up, a chest out right. Come on, boys, just take a bite. Look but don't touch, spin it round and round.
Okay, so this episode is all about friendships in drag, my values in friendships, and all kinds of shenanigans like that. So I consider myself a difficult person to make friends for various different reasons. I think that a lot of it was before drag, so I remember having a really difficult time growing up and making friends, specifically because I was meticulous in particular, and I think a lot of it had to do with that I was so closeted. I attach myself to people, and when I don't understand when friendships break and that attachment is disconnected, I really struggle, tearing down a wall. I feel like everybody works on building up these walls and tearing them down depending on what makes them comfortable and what trauma they have, or who they're going to let into, jump the wall, let down the gate, come on into my life. And I have very few friends that I would consider I've had for like the entirety of my life. And if I go like way, way, way back to when I was growing up, it is wild to me to think that like my childhood best friend, Ian, and his brother, I was like a second family growing up, the Stelmachs, like a second family growing up. And you kind of forget a lot of those childhood memories, those moments, until they all just flood back. They're all compartmentalized in different spots. And recently, probably about a month ago, or it'll be a different timestamp when this podcast comes out, but my childhood best friend came to a drag show that I was at and messaged me and said, "Hey, we're in town. We want to come see Jessica Lahore." And I was gooped. Mind you, I haven't seen anybody in this family for probably 15 to 20 years. Damn. Yeah, maybe 15 to 18 years. And not only did they show up, it was like reconnecting. Like, that is your childhood best friend. You hug them. I get so excited. And they're just people that have that little special place in your heart that you'll never forget them. You'll never lose those memories. You'll never feel distant from them. And I think a lot of the times I look at friendships and relationships around me, and I'm worried about there being such a loss and disconnect that I recluse and I just stay to myself and I don't try to reach out or connect, because this was a magical moment. Not only did they show up, him and his brother showed up with some of his friends. They all came in handmade Team Lahore shirts to my show, and it was magical.
It's magic.
All right, everyone, we are back. That was my special guest today, Jessica Lahore, all the way from Denver area. I love your videos. I love Jess Talks. I think you have some great topics, both fun and serious. This one talked about friendship. And the reason I like that is because the drag community, I mean, right now you have Drag Race, of course, it's gone on 15 season and All Stars. It's got to be it's a different level, right? And I would imagine it's a little harder to keep those friendships. I imagine it feel a little more competitive. I mean, you've Drag Race, I think, had 4 girls from Denver, 2 of which won.
Yeah.
Um, so it's like amazing. How do you kind of find the friendships working in the drag community these days? Is it tougher?
I think that as my longevity continued in drag, it became more difficult to maintain relationships with and friendships. I have had people that I've FaceTime and talked to every day, and we've been best friends for we told each other everything, and our friendship fell out because of a jealous moment. A jealousy of what I was doing, or a jealousy of not booking them, or whatever the case was. A lot of it came down to the professional sides of things, and rather than having conversations, which may not come off as the most approachable human, and that's understandable. But if you're my best friend, or if you're somebody I talk to, there should be no reason you can't talk to me. And instead, a lot of the relationships in my personal experience, and just it's harder because people will hold on to it, and they get resentful, and they get jealous and angry, and because they're holding on to something that happened weeks or months ago, and instead of just talking about it, it kind of crumbles relationships. So there's that aspect of it. I've found that relationships are really tough because you don't know. I feel like everybody's in it for something for themselves, and I'm okay with that, with kind of the understanding that that's what it is. But if I invite you into my home, if I spend extra time with you, or make quality time with you, if we just interact or kiki different, then I kind of, that's what I presume our relationship to be. Nothing more than that.
Right. And you're working hard, man. I mean, you don't have time for the bullshit these days. You gotta kind of you want to make these friendships, you want to have these things, but you got to also keep things going. I mean, I love all of your things you've created. Talk about Diva. I mean, you started this great awards. You have all these other great things you've done. What are some of the things you're most proud of?
Oh my gosh, you have done some amazing research over here. Oh my gosh, the Diva Awards. I've always wanted to, many, many years ago, wanted to do an award ceremony that recognized queer art, drag, the queer scene in Colorado. Cities like New York have it, and I think Houston has one, I think Portland has one, Chicago has one. There are all these award ceremonies that do this, And so the Divas is Drag Initiatives and Variety Awards. I couldn't find anybody that wanted to do it with me seriously, so I took it upon myself and just made it happen and built it and did it. We're doing our 5th year next year. So started from there. I usually run it as a one-woman show with some volunteers. Except for the second year, I had a very large committee, and it just gets better and better and better. It was really great last year. It recognizes bar staff and venue owners and community members that overachieved and got certain titles and awards, and it's really nice to have everybody in one spot.
Definitely. I love the way that does it. And I mean, you've organized stuff for children. Like I said, you've done a lot of these great outside events. Talk about what things that I think I read somewhere that you were going to put a record together, something like 3 or 5 years ago or something. How's your music? You do this live singing. I mean, not a lot of drag does live singing. Do you do that in your performances? 'Cause I know you do impersonations as well.
Yeah.
Talk about your music, what that means to you.
I am recently diving back into music with my friend Tiffany. I don't consider myself an amazing singer. I consider myself somebody that likes to sing, and on a great day, it sounds beautiful. And on a rough day, then maybe we didn't do karaoke for today. But I do like to put live singing into my acts. I like to have fun with it because I enjoy it. But I recorded a song in Portland probably about 4 years ago that I've just been sitting on for years and years and years and years, like I tend to do. And my friend Tiffany and I are now trying to build like a duo team of like stupid spoof drag music and just see where it goes. So this is all a new venture that we're diving back into.
That would be amazing. I love that. I think I mean, I love the lip syncing part of drag. I love the impersonation and divas, but live singing, we have a great live singer here in Northeast Ohio where I'm at. And it's just kind of fun to see that that you see them light up a little differently when they're doing their own stuff, right?
The variety of it is just wonderful. If you have somebody that can just throw in a live number or burlesque or something different that just changes up the show, oh God, it's wonderful.
I think that's amazing. And do you see yourself traveling? Do you like kind of sticking? You do so much work at home. Do you like to travel, or are you more of a home queen, or what is your preference?
So I have uh, some social trauma because when I traveled last for myself, I spent about a year planning a tour, a 32 city tour across the country that I was doing for 3 months. And it's started right at the time of COVID. Why do we keep bringing up COVID? And it kept catching up city to city until it shut it down. So I have not traveled since because at the time, the first like year to 2 years, traveling with a mask, let alone every city had different policies for what you could wear and how you could perform or if venues were even open. Then the year after that, it seemed like every airline was going through malfunctions. Southwest, United, everybody was just, it didn't seem fun to travel. And I'm definitely a proponent of waiting until my gut feels like it's time to do something. I will wait. I won't force anything. So any show opportunities that came to me and they said, hey, we'll fly you out. We'd like you to come out for this. Then I did those events. I got to go to Vegas. I went to Texas, Houston once as well, and oh no, San Antonio, excuse me. But the places that reached out to me, I'm eager to travel in 2024 and do a 50 city tour. I'm eager to make that happen, and I'm unsure yet, but I really want to do a 50 city tour next year.
They're tough to do. I take my show on occasion from Ohio to Palm Springs. I do the big gay road trip back and forth. And just that little thing, I only drive for a couple of days, and just coordinating that can be an issue
Right?
with weather and the towns, and it's craziness.
It's a lot. It's a lot of work and planning.
Talk about the Colorado scene right now. What's it like out there? Is it a strong LGBTQ community, or what's that? You saying mostly in Denver? Talk about the scene there.
Yeah, so I would say that there's a large queer community in Colorado, heavy in Denver, in the areas that I go to, Fort Collins. Even though Fort Collins, Boulder, these surrounding cities don't have queer bars, they have a lot of queer people, and so people do travel down to Denver for those experiences. I'd say the drag community is super diverse. We have a little bit of everywhere. It's oversaturated in the best ways. I'd say the queer community as a whole is going to have the same issues as any other queer community in any other city. There's drama sometimes, and people are involved in whatever they want. But I'd say it's pretty great. It's super. I'd say it's more white than other cities, which is unfortunate. But the queer scene as a whole, but we have a very strong population of folks of color, and it's got a lot of great diversity in gender identity as well. Safe spaces for trans people and non-binary people. Community spaces that make everybody feel like they can show up and be who they want to be. It's really nice.
That's fantastic. And like I said, you keep yourself so busy, everything between drag brunches and hosting events. Does the drag community, do they really support each other there? I mean, do you find enough events to keep everyone busy?
I feel like there's a lot of support and a lot of division. In our community, I'd say this is a common thing in most communities, but I feel like I make the effort to try to bridge some of those gaps in some capacities while also not changing who I authentically am. I'm not trying to like appease people, but I'm also trying to connect with people. There's a lot of work for everybody. People are now realizing in the last 2 years that they can create opportunities. So they're going out and building shows and building opportunity for them to do things. And I love to see that. They're not just complaining. That was a big thing before COVID, complaining that nobody's booking people in anything, and go make some stuff. So it's really great. It's great to see people that are hard fucking working. They're working really, really hard on their art.
There you go. And talk about your goals for your podcast and YouTube. I mean, you're heading towards 500,000 views already. You have over 150, or I think 1,500 subscribers. That's a pretty good base to start with there. Do you enjoy doing that part? Because that's a lot of work too to get those things put together.
I've learned early on to truly try not to focus on numbers too much and just kind of do things because I like them. Sometimes I feel like when you start a new project, like with subscribers, even YouTube, I was checking constantly and like trying to figure out how to build my audience and build my audience. And the less I focused on it, the more I focused on the content, the followers and stuff came. So I've really enjoyed every week I have a social media marketing meeting and a publicist meeting, and we sit down and schedule out what podcasts I'm doing and when I'm filming and what blocks of time I need to find guests and what segments. And so at the top of the month, we'll usually do a longer meeting that goes through the next projects that we're going to start and where are we at with releasing of these to be edited. And I review everything before it goes out. And, so I'm heavily involved, and I just brought on a team to help me in the last year, which has significantly helped. I've allowed people to put focus on things that I struggle in and put more focus into my business. So
That's smart. We all need to do that. I agree 100%. And talk about, I mean, you're always looking gorgeous on stage, on your YouTube, on everything. You have these gorgeous wigs behind you here. Talk about keeping up the look. You have such a great iconic, you look great all the time. Do you feel like you like to experiment? Do you get bored? Talk about how is it, are you able to keep the same look? Because I don't know if I would have that experimentation. I'm very vanilla.
yeah, so I always have the phrase makeup is too much fun to do the same face twice. Worst case is that it looks terrible and you fix it next time. Best case is you tried something new and you love it. And I feel experienced enough with makeup that if something looks like shit, I can fix it with some glitter or some duct tape and it'll be just fine. But I love changing things up. I have a weird way to compartmentalize in my head, like what looks. We have a look tracker, an Excel sheet, so that I know what looks I've done for which series. And if I cross over, that it's a little bit different. But I love changing my makeup on the regular. I love my drag lab. I'm looking around me. My drag lab is like a costume shop where I get to look around and say, what am I feeling? Do I feel like a summertime look? Do I feel like looking stupid in an inflatable Taco Bell outfit? Like, what do I want to wear? Do I want to dress like a Target lady? Like, what do I want? This, like, it's just really nice to change it up that way. I don't want to be put in a box.
Well, you have to give me a hint here because, I mean, as much as you look gorgeous in drag, Zachary's pretty damn handsome himself. I've been doing video podcasts now for just this season. I did audio before, and I'm breaking out like crazy. I put a little bit of makeup on so I don't look like a ghost because I'm a very pasty person. How do you keep your skin so great? I mean, Zachary is amazing.
Oh, that's so sweet. That's very nice. I don't think that I have the best skin, to be completely honest. I've come into skin routines in the last, again, 2 years where I actually asked an esthetician to help me learn what I needed to do for my face at a feasible cost amount. And sticking with routine has helped. But I still break out. I still have a lot of skin issues. I got Botox. That was nice. That was great.
There you go. I
So,
like it. All right, I can use all the helps I can get, believe me. All right, well, Jessica LaHore, it's been absolutely amazing getting to talk to you. Thank you so much for coming on the Let's Straight Show. Let everyone know where they can find your amazing website that has links to everything you do.
yeah, thank you so much for having me and making the time to just sit and talk and ask about me. You brought up a lot of things that I have not had anybody bring up in an interview before. So thank you for the research. It really tickled me in the best ways. You can catch anything Jessica LaHore, Miss Jessica, or Zachary at www.jessicalahore.com. That's LWHOR, no E because I'm illiterate.
There you go. But you're French and ooh la la, so I like that. And where can they find you on social media? The same?
Everything is at Jessica LaHore on TikTok, Threads, which I'm not a fan of, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and then the podcast, Jess Talks, YouTube, Ask LaHore, Jessica LaHore.
Fantastic. Stay on the line for me, Jessica. Guys, we're going to have a special 5 questions with Jessica next week. Be sure to look for that. That's always a lot of fun. Thanks so much. Please check out Jessica's website. If you're in the Denver area, see if you can find her. She's going to be somewhere. She works all the time, it seems. You're listening to another Let's Straight Show. We'll be back next time. Thank you very much for tuning in, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to The Left of Straight Show. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast distributor, and please give us a 5-star rating so more listeners can find us. You can follow us on social media, and be sure to check out our website, www.leftofstraightradio.com, for contests and other news and information. See you next week.